So black people love to use connotative language. Essentially, connotative language is basically slang terminology or made up words used in the English language to replace denotation, which is the true meaning of the word. For example, the word bad used to describe a woman who is appealing rather than the actual meaning, which describes something negative. So they say, oh, it's a bad chick. So then when you say something like, well, she's a bad chick, do you mean that she's actually bad? I don't know. Or it's actually something, really good. It's confusing when you start to use that slang terminology instead of the actual meaning, because then all of a sudden there's confusion. And that's what I'm here to talk about. Confusion. You're not being a Negro, you're not being a black, you're not being a colored person. You're not supposed to be either one of those three. As far as I'm concerned, when you walk out in the street and you tell your homie that some woman you saw as a bad chick, only those who speak connotatively will agree with that comment, while the rest of the civilized world knows that bad means something negative. You're in a subgroup of people who believe that using slang terminology is fine when all it does is prove how miseducated you are on the record. When you're in a court hearing facing the judge or the so-called judge in a criminal charge and you're facing 15 years or more, are you telling the judge that you saw a bad chick? Or do you find yourself saying something like, I saw a nice looking woman? Well, I doubt you would jeopardize your case by speaking slang in terms especially when your health or your financial well-being is at stake or on the line. The law is very specific, and you don't want to purposely screw up your life over vague terminology. That would be foolish. The civilized world doesn't recognize slang terminology as a coherent subversion of the English language. So why the hell would you use it in the first place? Doesn't make sense to me. The fulfillment of someone's ego can do a lot of damage to an idiot. We already have a stigma attached to the dead history and status of NBCs. And when I say NBC, I mean Negro, black, coloreds, African Americans, whatever they're using this week. Black actually means pale when you look up the etymology of the word black. Black is an adjective, which means it describes something. It describes something. It does not identify it. Your nationality is not black, which means it's not pale. Is there a nation called Blackanesia or Negro land on the planet? I don't think so. Bottom line, your nationality, your education, and your application of the education that you will use when you're trying to stand in competence, when you're standing on your square. In other words, your application of the education that you do have will result in the competence that you have when you're actually standing your square, whether it's in court or otherwise. You're not an NBC, all right? You're a moron. Do your research. Stop watching trash TV. Because the only thing the mainstream Roman regulated media wants to do to you is keep you in the hands of involuntary servitude, dumb you down, and denationalize you. This is our land, more. And we're the heirs to the world's largest estate. Start acting like it. And stop acting like a 14th Amendment straw man.